hello, and welcome to Uptown Tonight. It's our podcast, and we're getting booed already. Oh, I love this. I love this. It's for June 23rd, 2021. I am Wade Stolberger, your host, or Stallenfocker, or Discount Tom Cruise, or The Wiz, or whatever you want. We also have Cito over here running all our stuff.
I don't get it.
Why are we booing Lucido? And our guest today is Mr. Jason Siebels of Renegade Photography. Hi, Jason. How are we doing again?
Doing good.
Doing great. First, I'm going to talk a little bit because it's my show, so let's just talk a little bit. Okay. Well, this past weekend was Father's Day, and not everyone in here was at least is a father. How was your Father's Day?
Busy.
Busy?
Yeah.
Okay. Mine was pretty lame. But, I got to sit down here and watch my Laserdisc, which I got to watch 2001, The Odyssey, and then realized how long 3 hours can actually last. Wow. And it's just like, I know they paced things slow back in those days, but that was borderline painful. So, no, it's a classic. It's one you probably should see if you haven't seen it before, but...
Dave, what are you doing?
Yep, exactly. But, it's not one that you're just going to take out and watch with the kids. I'll just tell you that right now. Now, what was the other movie I watched? I'm trying to remember. That one lasted a while, too. Oh, yeah, Bridge Over the River Kwai. And then that's when I was like halfway through it, I realized that Obi-Wan Kenobi is like the main character in there. And I was
You
like,
didn't figure that out right away?
I should have. I know. I just kept looking at the guy, and I'm just like, what? Who is that? And then I realized, oh my gosh, Obi-Wan Kenobi's running this entire thing. So I kind of threw it for me. But that movie came out in 1957, I think. So 20 years before Star Wars, which is really... He doesn't look much older. I'll just say that. Yeah, so Father's Day. But I was just checking out what Father's Day, how it even started. It started from the YMCA in 1910. So it's kind of a new thing. I thought it was some kind of Hallmark deal from all those other holidays that came out. But no, it's actually something, it came out in 1910. So it's fairly recent, just a little over 100 years old. So... all you out there, we'd like to see you in the chat. Please ask all the questions that you like or whatever else you want to say about us, or, ask Jason over here. And we'd love to hear from you. So, getting on to it, as we all know, the music scene is also developed along with visual and aspect here. And Jason is, in my humble opinion, is probably one of the best photographers I've seen out there, at least... creativity-wise and all that. I mean, just anyone can take a picture with their smartphone, but what Jason captures, I don't know. Every time I see what he has next, it just blows me away. I'm just like, where did you come up with this? How did you come up with this? And it's all like, I like going to the car references. It's all like that engine. Engine, you got the pistons, cylinder heads, and the valves and all that stuff. Well, if music is being the piston... what drives it through there, I think, is just, the valves. And the valves are basically what feed the fuel mixture into there so the pistons can work. And so with that being said, that's as artistic as I'm going to get today, Jason. What can you do with that?
Nothing.
Oh, I swear. What do we pay these people anyways? Oh, that's right. Nothing.
I didn't even drinks this time. I feel kind of left out.
So, Jason, we know you're from Fargo. Well, actually, you're from...
I'm from Harwood.
Harwood, that's it.
Yeah.
So,
home with the hideout.
We're not going to talk about the hideout right now. So maybe we'll get into that later. Got some interesting memories from there. But you were born and raised there?
Yeah. Well, I guess technically I was born in Moorhead. I'm not arguing.
That was by accident.
That's fine. We need a microphone closer to you too there. So, so get up better? On that thing.
Okay. There
you go. That's much better.
Okay, my bad. No, so as far as I remember, I think we lived outside of Harwood for a little bit before we moved to the actual house where I can remember everything at. But yeah, I've lived at Harwood, up through my high school years, and then went to school at NDSU. And have been in Fargo for the rest of my life, as sad as that is.
So you have your degree from NDSU?
No.
The thing is, I've known Jason since I can remember, and I'm setting him up for these things. So, what
Yeah.
happened at NDSU that we did not get our degree? Because I know you went to West Fargo High School. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of weird stuff. My life has just been odd, as it doesn't follow a straight line at all. It jumps all over the place.
No, which makes it more interesting than most. So, it's just like,
Yeah, so I started at NDSU actually while I was a senior in high school. I was one of the first kids in North Dakota to do the early entry thing.
interesting.
Back
Okay.
before they paid you to actually do it, so it all came out
They
of pocket.
pay you to do early entry?
They do now.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, now they'll actually cover like some of the college credits. They didn't. Like I had to pay for it all out of pocket. So my senior year, I started going to NDSU,
Okay.
taking math and science out there. Originally wanted to be a music ed major, and had like a half a year to go, but dropped out of school to start a nonprofit organization because I was too dumb to know better.
It wasn't too dumb. It wasn't
I
too
don't know.
dumb.
Given the region, like that was a uphill battle the entire time, and I was just too stubborn to say no. It's time to quit.
It was, and I was a part of this nonprofit association along with Jason, and I think that's some of the most learned years that I've had
Oh,
in
yeah.
my life.
Like-
And I know that's developed me to why this podcast even is here, and everything else that I've done in my life is just that, yeah, once you stick your mind to something and you plan and things happen, I don't know, it's just the results you get, I think, are just really cool. And Jason here is the one who taught me all that back in the day. It's like I had ambition. I know I had the work ethic. I just had no idea how to put it together. And he's basically showed me the way how to do all that. But so I'm not going to say anything was bad about that nonprofit. But what happened? How did you end up going from school to the nonprofit right there? Because I
Like,
know.
do you want me to like get into the actual dirty details of things?
Well, we don't want to
or-
get too
I mean, 'cause we
deep
could get
because I
sued
know
for
how
some
it
of that,
ends.
I
But
think.
I
That's the last boo. I found it. It's on right now.
because I know during those times is that that's when I came back from school, and mine was a whole financial issue is why I wasn't continuing school. And then I met up with you at the same time, and you had this great idea of this nonprofit that started off from the drum corps that we were into together way back when we were in high school and all that.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to go like too in depth because I in this region I don't know how many people actually know about drum bugle corps. Like,
There's more and more each and every
are
day.
there? Okay.
Yeah.
Because it like 10 years ago I could say drum bugle corps and I just got like blank stares, and I don't know if that's changed at all because I still bring it up every once in a while. People are like, oh, okay, what's that?
And our audience is mainly musicians right now.
Okay,
anyway, so.
well that's better. So yeah, I mean we started off in 1998. I think there was a drum corps in town that did touring that kind of went under. And
Yep. And these drum corps we talk about are basically like marching bands that
on steroids,
on steroids
they're
that go
combined
tour.
with like theater troops and stadium rock bands, basically.
So if anyone's really wondering what all this is about, right now, drum corps, I won't say is waning, but drum lines, if you go up competitive drum lines on YouTube right now, you're going to have too much to watch for the rest of the night. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
So,
So I grew up in the activity thanks to the one in town. I got involved with one out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. That was one of those like just amazing learning experiences where you get in a bus and you literally you rehearse for like 8 hours a day. You go do a show at night for like 30,000 people. You get back on a frickin' bus. You drive all night long for 300-400 miles. No idea what state you're in anymore. No idea what's going on.
that was my favorite part.
Yep.
What state are we in now?
Yep, getting out
Oh,
of
okay.
a bus at like 4 a.m. You're like, are we in Ohio? Where the heck are we? And like getting up doing it over and over again for like 3 months a year. Just completely addictive to me
Oh.
because I was
Except at the end of that third month, you're done.
I don't know, I could have like done it year round if I
Oh,
wanted to.
No, I was
Like,
done. I was like, I need to get up. But then 2 weeks later, I was just like, let's get back on the bus.
Yeah.
Why am I here? Get back
So
on.
anyway, really loved doing that. Wanted to make certain the area had one, so I dropped out of school to start one because again I was too dumb. It was partially.
So is that actually what happened? Is that you dropped out just to start the
Yeah,
nonprofit?
yeah. I was
Okay.
that. I had like I can't remember. Well, I don't know how much school I had left because I I had a really bad advisor when I started. Back when I started in '94 94 full time at NDSU.
94.
And my advisor, he helped me put my schedule together, but he was under the impression that I wanted to be a music performance major, not a music education major. So after 3 years of taking music classes, music theory, multiple performance groups, I got a new advisor. And I came in and chatted with her the first day, and she's like, "Oh, well, you're almost done with your degree. Let's take a look at what you got." And I'm like, "Okay." And we just started chatting, and she's like, "Oh, you're music ed?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm music ed." And she's like, "Oh, well, you got like 3 years of education courses to take."
Yeah, why are you taking all these performance classes?
Yeah. So that kind of pushed me a little bit out the door as well.
But there, you played low brass, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so were you a tuba player? Or
I played all low brass. So
Okay.
it's like tuba, trombone. Like I got into tuba because it was the instrument that my parents did not have to buy.
Okay.
And I originally wanted to be a sax player,
But-
actually.
Another, again, sax
yeah.
player. I'll
Now
give
you
my
both
sax
need to
player
play the
story.
sax together.
But my
Terrible.
my folks did not want to purchase a saxophone. So they're like, "What other instruments you got to play?"
Wow. Sounds like a carbon copy.
Tuba. You can bring that one home and play that one. And it was weird because by 7th or 8th grade, I was ready to drop, and that's when I got into the local drum corps, and that completely changed my life as far as music went.
Exactly. That's what saved me too, is doing the marching band
Yeah.
stuff, and then the drum corps. This is when I got started with it. It was before Jason actually, and it was only by a year. I think I was the longest running person in that corps, but I wasn't there from the very, very beginning. There's actually a season before I started. But I just got a call from one of the guys that was heading the drum line at school and said, "Do you want to be in a drum corps?" And I'm just like, "What's a drum corps?" And he's like, "Well, it's like marching band." And I was like, "Oh, when's the rehearsals?" "Well, it's Saturday at 10 a.m. And I was like, "I got bowling." And I had to give up my bowling league, but I'm so glad I did do that. So
Yeah, Judy Job, actually. I was playing brass.
Judy Job's the one who brought you
Judy
in, huh?
Job, yeah, because I was playing tuba in a brass ensemble at our church, and she saw me playing tuba, and she's like, "Hey, you should come check this group out."
Oh, interesting. So I run into Robin every once in a while when at the IMC. Her son would be up there doing guitar stuff. At least that. I think he went into the military as well. So that's the last time I know. Sorry, nostalgia stuff people don't know.
No, that's fine. So yeah, that's what caused it. Is I dropped out of school to do that, and I did that as much of a full-time job as I could, because that was like 30 hours a week doing everything, which
Yes.
is what kind of led into the photography. It led into a lot of different things.
Yeah, so that's the whole thing. Is that I know we went from this whole musical type scenario until that kind of just fell apart, at least on our side. And we won't get into that part, and then you just developed yourself into something else. You just started kind of just keep morphing. But I remember back in those early days, because I don't know, I was doing 3 jobs and bands and all that other fun stuff. So it's all to me is a big blur. Most of it's hazy about what was going on there. I do remember a few stories I might bring up with you, but we'll see if we get to that. But it was just I'm still wondering how you were able to pull all that together and be able to. I remember sitting back in those days, color printing was a huge deal, and we used to sneak into NDSU. I think you were posing as a student still, and then you'd get these print cards.
I might have been teaching there at that time, actually.
Okay, you're doing something. I know you're getting these print cards that you can get for so you can get color prints at the print center, that after you get done with whatever you're doing at the computer labs, if everyone remembers computer labs out there, and then you take that your file or whatever, and you'd go to the print center, and then you'd have this card that you'd be able to get a full color print out of, and you only paid 10 or 15 cents for, where you go to Kinko's or whatever, and it was $2 per print, something really just atrocious. But I remember you doing that, and we were sitting there, and you just sit there and just manipulate these photos of me and whatever else, and you'd make it just. I remember you just cut the nose off of me, and then you turn it into stuff that I'm not going to talk about. You know what? We were young back then. Yeah, I was just completely amazed how you could do all this stuff, and then I get on there, and I'm like, okay, you saw you do it, and then it was a waste of time. I couldn't even get my name written on a thing, much less, manipulate how you did. So where did you learn all that? Did you just kind of step into it?
I just stepped into it, man.
And just made yourself figure it out.
I mean, I was one of those kids that drew all the time. I didn't take any art classes to do it
But this
till
is
like my senior years.
computers.
It's the same thing. It's just, you're pushing things around a screen instead of using a pencil.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm a savant. I have no idea. it
I don't know,
it
it's
just makes
always
sense to
ama-
me,
it
you
just-
know?
Okay, well, if it made sense to you, it made sense to you. It's never made sense to me. I still sit there and struggle with that stuff. I got to go through and like, what do we have to click on now to make this do this? And then, there wasn't YouTube back in those days either. So I was just like, it's still.
It's
The more I
like,
look back at, the more it's like, how did we make this happen? And how did that actually happen? How did you come up with all this great marketing stuff that you did? So
I'm nuts. I don't know. I mean, there's a little bit of insanity that goes into it.
well, I'm sure some
and-
people will agree with that, but
Yeah, hopefully a lot. But I mean, I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's like you become obsessed about something where it becomes your life, and you don't stop thinking about it ever. And you do that day in and day out, and you just keep coming up with stuff.
interesting.
I don't know what else to say. Because it was, pretty much my life for 10 years. I lived and breathed it and tried to do everything I could to do that,
In order to make it happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you just make it happen at that point. When failure's not an option, you just keep going until you can't go any further.
Because I know I had to get out at an earlier age because of my firstborn and all that. And then you continued to fight, and you did really, really well with all that stuff. So
I'm glad you think so, because I felt like a failure for most of it. I mean, as odd
it
as
wasn't
it
failure. You
sounds.
made it. Everything kept going, and that was the region up here. I mean, it's getting more. It's better and better. At least the marching stuff. I was even helping out some people. They were picked out their own equipment, but they run it through me as well to make sure that they didn't miss anything, or if I had any new or better suggestions. And that's out at the new Horace school. They're getting even marching equipment out there. So, I mean, it's growing. It's starting to grow. Granted, yeah, we're old. I don't know if we really want to go back into all that, because that's a lot of energy being put into it. But that whole scene, it's growing.
Yeah, like every once in a while I get the bug and it's like, oh, I should do it. And it's like automatically my brain's like, no, you know better than doing that. It's a drug. You got to stay away,
And what's really interesting is the guy that I'm working with now, well, at least the young guy that I'm working with this summer, turns out that he was on the NDSU marching band snare line. Came out of, if I get this wrong, it's Kentucky, I believe. He came out of Kentucky. So it explains how he came up here and did all that. But, I still find that interesting. There's just more and more of it coming around, at least this area. So, but we'll get past all that stuff.
All right.
And okay, so that morphed into what you're going into now. But how did that even start? You just sat there one day and just went, okay, well, I'm not going to be doing the drummy thing anymore. So how about I just do photos?
No, it's God, we got to step back a little bit. So,
Good.
did the drummy thing, did electrical engineering for a little bit.
Electrical engineering.
Yeah.
What?
Worked for a television station.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, worked for WADAY TV and their master control, which was I just basically pushed buttons. That was it. I didn't have to hotwire anything.
You're doing kind of like what Cito's doing?
Pretty much.
There's another boo that we need to get off. No
That
more
was it,
boos
and
for me.
recording things every once in a while.
We want
so I
some
did
cheers.
that. While I was doing that, I was also a cartoonist for a little bit.
Uh-huh. Oh, you can't see it. There we go. Guardian Devil.
Yeah. So I did a web.
This one's still in my arsenal.
Nice. Yeah,
That's
I
why
did.
the camera's set up for the cross shot.
Here, I thought you just liked my legs. But no, I did that for 4 years before I met my wife. I was doing photography, basically just because the thing is with the nonprofit, I don't want to hop back to that, but it's there is no stock photography for any of that. So if you want to put together brochures, if you want to put together a website, if you want to do anything promotional wise for it,
Yes.
you have to do it yourself.
Yes.
And we had no budget.
Yes.
So it's
that's how NDSU kept coming.
And so the cheapest way to do that, because I had done photography in high school, nothing too terribly serious with it, but it's I shot for the school paper and could actually understand how a camera worked.
I had an Insta camera.
So I picked up a Canon Rebel G at a pawn shop, and that's what started me on it, around 2000. But in order to do promotional work for the Corps or the drumline that we were running, that's pretty much what prompted it. And then I just kept doing it until I met my wife like 7 years later, and she saw me doing it, and she's like, well, maybe you should try doing this instead. Like, not give up the drumline stuff, but she's like, you seem to have an eye for doing photography. Maybe you should do that.
You've always had an eye for the color and all that stuff. And then when you get into some of these photos here that I only picked out a few because he gave me a boatload, but there are some in there that I won't talk about now, but I don't really want to see what your actual vision, how the hell you even came up with the idea and how you made it even work.
So anyway, met my wife 2006, pardon me, not 2007. But I started doing photography on the side just as a side hustle around 2007.
So what were you doing then? Were you still your
I was still
electrical
working, for NDS, or not NDSU. I taught at NDSU like around 2000, 2003, I want to say. But I was working for WDAY as an electrical engineer, master control operator.
Okay, so it brings back to this question. I'm derailing this whole thing right here, but we were sitting here right before everything was happening, and everyone was just dead quiet, staring into the abyss. Is that what happens at WDAY as well, right before the radio shows go on or anything?
No, like it's constant freaking chatter.
Oh, okay, so
like I shouldn't say that, Eric. I don't even know if he's still working there because I stopped working there like 10, 12 years ago. But it's like before the morning news goes on, like it is constant chatter. We're trading recipes down there.
That's
and then
they don't get this.
And constant chatter.
They don't get this on the WDAY.
That's what? Well, we got it a couple of times actually. And that's when the panic sets in.
Yeah. That's why I was quiet before we started.
But no, it's constant chatter till like 5 seconds, and you hear like 5, 4, and it's like that's when it stops and like it goes back to normal of like, oh God, camera two.
No, okay.
But yeah, during the commercial breaks, it's like, oh, okay, let's BS for a bit. I don't know if I should say that or not, or if people are going to get fired, but who knows?
People are people.
Yeah.
Not robots.
I love Scotch. Scotch. We're on right now. Oh, are we?
That's happened a couple of times too.
Oh, this is my fiance. That's one of her favorite things to do is watch the news bloopers of the week, see what people have done, getting mauled by dogs and stuff, and saying things that they probably shouldn't be saying. Usually Freudian slips, but yeah.
Yeah, it happens a lot.
So photography. So you got this camera at a pawn shop. How much you pay for it?
I paid $100, I think, for the camera and the lens. Yeah.
Okay, and that's what changed your life right there.
I don't know if it changed my life then, but it
changed your life, dude. That was the starting point.
It was the tool that I needed at the time.
Yeah.
And I still have it. I still use it every once in a while. But yeah, that's what it was.
And that's what it was. So then, how'd you come up with Renegade?
Drum corps again. There was a corps out of San Francisco called the San Francisco Renegades. I thought that's just a freaking awesome name.
Okay.
And like Renegade Photography just has a great ring to it. It's a really good thing to market because it stands out as opposed to like John Doe Photography. You're never gonna
definitely a little more. It's got a little more gumption, especially around this area.
Agency or something, John Doe.
Yeah, John Doe Photography. We find out who's committing arson.
Checking out some stuff. So in the not the comments below, but in the information below, there is links to Renegade Photography, his website, and to his Facebook and Instagram. And then I started looking up Twitter, and there's 18,000 Renegade Photography people out there. Oh, there was a ton. I didn't know if you were on there or not, and I didn't really think that the Twitter thing was even worthwhile. So.
For our band?
The what?
Did we mention that he did the pictures for our band?
Oh, well, we'll get to that. Yes, he did do the photos shoot for our band. So all that stuff that you see for the Uptown. And he also even made the logo for us. So this is the guy who did all that. And we just take it and just slap it on everything that we possibly can. So thank you for that. Yeah. The cheesy grin.
What am I going to say? Yeah, I know. I'm awesome.
Dude, Jason, you're like me. You just don't know how to take a compliment.
No, I don't.
I
get insulted by him, honestly.
Exactly. You're just like, what are you trying to say? So I'm going to sit here.
Yes.
Yeah. So what the hell were we talking about?
We were talking about how you got Renegade and how you got Renegade going.
Crap. Yeah. So no, it was a drum corps thing. Like I just heard the name. I really liked it. I'm like, it's something that you can latch on to and market to, And it took me like another 10 years before I finally came up with the catchphrase for it, which is, if you want photos like everybody else, call the other guys. When you're ready to go renegade, give us a call.
Ah, slick. I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, it's because I didn't come up with it till like 2 years ago.
Oh. Do you take radio spots or anything out, or
No,
you just
not
is
yet.
it all word? But is it all word of
It's
mouth?
all word of mouth. My wife got me a lot of work earlier because she was working as a nurse, and she like had a lot of people who were getting pregnant, and so it's
Only
like
when the baby
Yep.
photos and all
Yep,
that.
lots of weddings, lots of pregnancy through that, and then it just kind of like kept going from there. I wish I had switched over to doing it full time earlier, but around 2010 or so, I got offered a job doing web design, and that was another thing. Thanks to the nonprofit, like we had to have a website, so it's like
Yep.
learning HTML from scratch.
I
And
remember the old tripod. Was that the tripod, whatever?
no, I think we had moved off to a GoDaddy hosted site.
Okay, I just remember that one. I was just like, how did you
Yeah.
pull that together? I have no idea.
No, that was
there's
uh,
pictures on
like
here. That's how
prior
long ago
to
this
like
was.
YouTube, it was just like hardcore, like slogging through HTML in the early hours of the morning to put something together, teaching yourself how to do that. But because I had done that, and another guy that I knew that I did that, he hired me to do like web design and customer service for a web design company. So instead of doing photography full time, look, I thought about doing, I'm like, I got a kid now, and we got a second kid coming on the way, and it'd be nice to have health insurance. So I did that and still kept the photography going as a side hustle. And then I got fired from that job and was like, oh, screw it, I'm just going to do photography full time now.
How would you get fired with someone
I-
with your work ethic? And can we get your microphone closer just in case?
I'm sorry.
I really want to hear all this stuff.
That is why I got fired, because I am terrible at microphone
Yeah,
placement.
I can see that.
Yeah. No,
I love you, Jason.
I had worked at the job for 7 or 8 years, and like
You were there that long?
yeah.
That just there's like a, how would you say that when Bill Burr says when you go into that fog of fatherhood, and all of a sudden you just pop out the other side. And that's where I'm at now. Is my daughter's really about to turn 18 in a couple months. Again, everybody, you can stay away, but is that I'm actually able to go out and do things again. So the whole that happened the past 18, 20 years, I'm just like, what? I remember blips of it, but that's it. So I remember you doing something with website design, but I thought it was really like a year or a year and a half.
No, I
7 or
did it
8
for like
years, huh?
7 or 8 years, yeah. And then it's like burnout set in really hard by like year 6.
And then they wouldn't let you place the microphones where you needed to.
Yeah,
and-
pretty much. It's
Okay.
like they got really pissy about my microphone placement. They're like, no, you got to go. You can't keep it by your face anymore. So yeah, I got let go, and like literally that was the happiest day at the job in like 7 years. Was like, I don't have to come back to this job again.
I suppose I just gave you the excuse of now you actually have to dive full into the photography
Pretty much.
part.
It was like, okay, so I did look at like possibly getting another job, and then I'm like, why should I work for another asshole when I got a perfectly good asshole right here? It's
See, that makes perfect sense. And
Yeah.
a lot of us in this artistic type situation, I mean, we all have to make that decision. There's a lot of us that sit there and is like, we'd love to do it full time. Can we make enough money full time to do that? Or, you still you like that security that that person's going to get a paycheck for whatever job that you're working at and stuff. And we all jump through those hoops. And,
yeah, and it's a lot easier to say, yeah, I need that paycheck when you got like 3 or 4 mouths to feed at home. It's like,
yeah.
we got medical
And
bills.
responsibilities.
Yeah, the responsibilities suck.
I wish I was 20 again.
Yeah,
No, I don't. No. They were fun, but I'm surprised you survived.
Where you at? I'm at the lakes.
I never made it to the lakes in my 20s, man.
And chat, we're quiet tonight. Do we have any questions
I
for
don't-
Jason?
Yeah, I
let's
mean,
hear
I don't
'em.
really
Let's hear 'em.
expect anything different. Honestly, I'm actually surprised you had me on. 'Cause-
Surprised?
Yeah.
No. So this is the whole thing. It's the whole artistic side. Is that when you're doing a band or anything that has to have any kind of promotion, you definitely need good photos. Now everyone always thinks that I got my iPhone 10, I can take a few snapshots and that'll be good enough. And for the most part, it is. But you got to remember one thing is that the difference between good and great are the details. And everyone notices when something's great, and then they all can notice that something's good. So if you want to stick out, you really got to find that person who knows the details, what's going on. Not just like, Well, if you stand against this brick wall here, it's a little bit of a contrast. So let me take a photo where Jason, I don't know, he's beyond me. I have no idea how he comes up with this artistic palette of his, but we'll get into those photos just a little bit. But so you got it going there. Do you have struggled for a few years then, or?
Oh God, yeah, I'm still struggling. What are you talking about?
But I remember you talking about well, I don't know if you've talked about it or if I just saw you posting about that, is that you do a lot of photography now for drama, the
Theaters.
plays,
I
the
do
theater
a lot
stuff.
of like high school theater groups, both like shooting the show and then coming up with promotional materials. For 'em.
Exactly,
So,
but
like,
this guy dresses like he's from the 1920s. And,
Edwardian,
Edwardian.
1910s. Yeah, like get your time periods correct.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, wait.
Man.
20s were fedoras and trench coats.
There we go. And he does this on purpose. And I know that, again, it's another marketing thing, but,
It's
plus
that and-
it's personality as well.
Well, it's that, and I bought a bad pair of pants once. That's how that started the whole thing.
You bought a pair of pants.
I bought 3 bad pairs of pants.
Bad?
Yes, so like I bought these cheap ass. I needed new khakis for work, right?
Okay.
The 9 to 5er,
And
I
this
bought
is for the
web design. Company,
okay, gotcha.
So back then it was like khakis and t-shirts. That was my go-to staple, right?
Gotcha.
And so it's like I was tearing holes in my old khaki. So I ran to Walmart and I picked up like 3 pairs of khaki pants that were like these elastic waist khaki pants. They're supposed to stretch and fit.
Beautiful.
The problem is if you sit down in them for more than an hour, they stretch out and then they fall off your ass if you stand up. So I tried wearing a belt with them, but like with the belt, you look like the frickin' scarecrow because the top like comes out and just looks, you got all this extra material now that has just spilled out the top and you look just terrible in them. So I started wearing suspenders with that. And then it's like, well, I don't want to wear suspenders with like a t-shirt. So then like got into the shirts, and then it was like, I don't like wearing exposed suspenders because that just sucks to be around people in. So my choice were I either had to wear like fully commit to a suit jacket or I had to start wearing like waistcoats. And because of the waistcoats, like once you start going waistcoat and you start looking like an English gentleman, that's what caused it. Like a bad pair, three bad pairs of Walmart pants led to like a full Edwardian look. And then it's like, once you lean into it, you got to commit.
And everyone loves it. Everyone loves it. So everyone knows that you're. But you're mentioning on this post, I believe it was a post, is that you walked in with your garb on and stuff, and someone said, "Oh, Renegade's here," and that's when you knew you were making it or made it or whatever.
That's like when it finally hits that it's like, okay, I've built something that people recognize.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is extremely cool. Extremely cool.
Yeah.
So, what's our time there on there, Cito?
Well, it's 7:02.
7:02 in the PM. So, Cito, we got a new little sounder for you at the very beginning here. Cito, what's happening out there this weekend?
Hey, Wade, how you doing? There you are, right there. But I
I'm
see you
still
got your sloth there, right up behind you,
Yep,
snuggling
this
behind
is
you there.
for my child, the sloth child. So, he is now some kind of army infantry person.
Well, let's see what we got going here on the. There it is. All right, we got the windbreak, tripwires on there Thursday, and then Aaron Simmons on Friday. Back for more on Saturday. The shooting star, we got Asphalt Cowboys. There they are again. And then they'll be there Friday and Saturday. At the Tech Center, we got Post-Traumatic Funk Syndrome on Thursday and Janstem. And Saturday, no band on Friday. Nope. Sanctuary Event Center, Fargo Comedy Fest, Minneapolis Best Part 2.
So I'm really interested to go see the stand-up stuff. I don't know. I've just been really itching to go see like actual, I want to say amateur stand-up, but stuff that you don't watch on YouTube or whatever.
Downtown Report, we got the Rookies. Wayne MacArthur will be on there Thursday, and then Jim White on Friday. At the Lights, we got on Saturday, we got Frostfire, and then the Pit 66 out in Lakes Country. We got the Deadbeats on Saturday. The 701 Eateries, that's on the roof. We got the Sing Along with Red Monk and Brady. That was tonight.
That's going on
Yeah, it's
right
going
now.
on
They
right
just
now.
got started. So if you're close to the 701, go down, say hi to Brady and Peter.
Or go to their maybe live feed. I'm not sure if they're live feed.
Oh, I'm sure they're going to live feed.
Well, have a good one, boys. The Norman County Fair, which is my home county, Tripwire is out there on Friday night. And then Pub West, we got Rachel Anero on Thursday. And then Comedy in the Cellar, we got Brendan Gay on Saturday. Edgewood Tavern, we got Rick Adams on Thursday. The Bar 9, Twice as Hard on Friday. Broadway Square, Podcast Festival. What is that? Podcast Festival.
I noticed that when I was starting, at least came up with the idea of this, and that popped up, is that they have a podcast festival on Saturday. Of course, we're going to be gone that day. And I was really, really kind of excited to go see that. But apparently they're going to be like talking about the different equipment and ideas and techniques for podcasting. So
Okay.
I just had to put it up there.
If you have a podcast or something, go out there yourself and check out what's going on. Dempsey's Crop Dusters will be on Friday. The Aquarium, Eddie Tall, Trans Monolith, and Understudy on Friday. And then May Simpson with Jessica Vines on Saturday. The Three Lions Pub, Sean Meitzel, and the band will be on there Saturday.
And
The First Lutheran Church Summer Concerts, Wednesday 23rd. That's going on tonight, I'm thinking.
Yep, probably at this exact moment as well.
And then out of town, we have Chaos 901 Friday and Saturday.
Chaos 901.
And then the Roadhouse FM All Stars will be out there on Saturday. The Laughing Sun Brewery, our favorite place in the Bismarck Mandan area.
Yes.
We have Mike Swenson and Brian Gray Thursdays. And then the Bismarck Event Center is Foreigner. The Foreigner?
Foreigner, yes.
Oh, man, it's going to
This Saturday.
hot-blooded. Who told you to put this on Head Games? And I think that's it, huh? Is that it?
That is
That
it.
is it. All right. Well, that's the Uptown Downtown Report with Cito. Thank you, Wade, and back to you.
So, Jason, I'm dying. I had to go into that quick because I'm dying to get to some of these photos
Yeah,
here.
go
It's
ahead.
just to hear what you have to say about these. Now, again, I was trying to find some stuff from Jason back in the day because I was just a quick story. When I first met Jason, it was literally in what Dempsey's is right now. They used to be our drum corps halls. Back then, it was the
Fargo Youth Commission.
That's what
building.
it was, the Fargo Youth Commission, where the drummers, as in me, were stuck in the basement, which no one gets to see. The main hall where Dempsey's is now, that's where all like the horn people would play. There were actual bugles that we used back then. And then upstairs in the aquarium is where our flag or color guard people used to rehearse. And Jason was, were you a drum major right off the bat, or did you play
I was
contra?
I was a contra for like a year.
Okay. I just remember Jason coming downstairs and he now the most people,
OCD.
this isn't going to sound like much, but us, it was like, what are you doing? He actually marched up to us, told us we needed to be upstairs in like 5 minutes for a rehearsal, and did an about face and marched on off. And we all just looked at each like, what the hell is this guy doing?
I was a freak
But-
of a kid, man.
Yeah, but the whole thing is, it's like it set a statement. It's like, this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it, and this is how serious I am about it. So I mean, looking back at it, that was pretty BA. I'll just say it was pretty badass. But at the time, we were just like, what's this guy doing? What's his deal? But that's where I met Jason, at least for the very first time.
We actually, I don't know if you know it, but we went to a concert together.
We went to
Not together, but we were both at Metallica at the BSA.
Oh, yes. I remember that. I keep talking about that one. That's why I say you never bring a date to a metal concert. That was the one, and it had to be Metallica. It had to be the one that they played over 3 hours. It had to be the one that we stood in line for hours and hours to get the tickets and hours to be one of the first, 3 rows into the place. And as soon as the mosh pit area jumped up and rushed the stands, my date didn't like that too much, and we ended up sitting in the back with all the bikers. So
That's where the joints get handed around.
yeah, I
we
was
say
a
that
little
on
young
this
for that
podcast?
type of stuff, but it was, I've never brought a date again to a metal concert. I'll just say that.
Aerosmith 94.
What about
your
Prog
hands
Rock?
be
So
joined.
how do you remember that?
I just remember, like, because I think we talked about it at the next rehearsal. Like,
Did we?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty sure you said I didn't take you for a Metallica guy. And it's like, well, I wasn't really. My cousin had tickets, and it's like, you want to go to Metallica? I'm like, Yeah, I'll go to freaking Metallica, man.
That's very
It's
true.
Metallica, you know.
Very true. I don't know. This is so many hours we spent in the car driving around and showing people how to do drumming stuff. Yep, it was good times.
Yeah.
Good times. Learn how to present. So let's get to some of these photos here, there, Cito. Let's see. Right there. See, that is one. I'm not going to say exactly why that happened, but Siebels did take this, and it was a group that I was associated with.
So I don't know if you want me to name the group or not. But
No, because there's some. Yeah.
So anyway, I think you approached me to do promo shots for this group. And
Yes,
this
I
is
did.
like 10 years old.
It is. When I popped up, I was like, "Oh, that's right. You took these."
Yeah.
And oh,
So anyway, that was actually my living room.
yep.
Which was under, we were remodeling. Well, we were actually remodeling that room for almost 7 years. But it was kind of torn apart. Like we had all the trim off the wall so I could repaint it and refinish it. And so it looked really trashy and it looked like an abandoned house at that point. So I set up a couple of lights and I had moved a couch like to the center and set people up and just kind of gave a little bit of stage direction. And that's what happened with it.
Oh, exactly. Now you came up with some really cool shots, and when that popped up, like it took me back. I was like, "Oh wow, that's right."
Yeah.
I forgot completely about that. All right. And so here is Jason in a bathroom
Yeah. So
doing a
that,
selfie.
that, I don't even remember what prompted it. I think I just needed to take a selfie that night, but that was during a wedding that I was shooting. And it's like, I think it might have just been I had decent hair that night.
I gotta get this.
It's like, this rarely happens. So let's
I
take,
understand.
yeah.
But a selfie with a real camera, so that's the whole thing. Okay. Oh, so that one we got a.
Adam's family.
You might,
Yep.
yeah, that was a promotional that I did just like.
Can we crop that back down at all? Is that possible while we're doing
I
this?
don't know.
I don't
It's
know.
up to
Click
you.
on there and see
I
if it
don't wanna
turns
mess with
red.
The Matrix.
That's a you thing. But yeah, I did this for Davies High School. They did a musical production of Adam's Family. So that was all done. Well, it wasn't all done in camera, but most of it was done in camera. I had to add a couple of background elements.
There you go.
Hey, there we go.
See, now if you look on the red and you got those big dots there, you can actually shrink it down so we can fit it all in there. Yep, let's just pull it.
Oh, there we go.
Whee!
Technology.
So yeah, we just set up.
Oh, Lurch is still knocked out. Do you know that they call my son Lurch
Really?
at the Army? He was telling me that, and I was like, how did they get that? But then if you
doesn't-
actually stop and look at him, if he doesn't
Yeah,
speak for a moment, I
that's
can
true.
kind of see it. He's just short.
That's true. But so yeah, we just did that on the stage. The only element that was there was that curtain, and I had to extend it back a little bit. But the actors were there, of course.
It's
but
pretty cool.
all the-
Nice lighting on the face there.
that was done in post because they're without having like a dozen lights to actually get that eye light on there. And that's one of the things that I've always loved about like the Angelica Houston Morticia is like they put that Dracula eye light right on her.
Yeah, that's
So
really cool.
I
That
wanted to make
sticks
sure
out.
we had that on her as well. That was another Davies High School production. I actually had to drive up to Mayville, North Dakota, pardon me, to Paula's Cafe. Want to give them a shout out for like letting me go up there and bug their customers. But I shot the cafe separately, and then I had to stitch everybody into that.
Oh, seriously?
Yes.
That's got that James Dean vibe.
Yeah, I was going
huge in there.
for Edward Hopper's Nighthawks. Actually,
Okay.
was kind of the inspiration for that. But actually going into the diner as opposed to shooting it from outside. The background on that window there is, of course, photoshopped in. I think I just pulled that off of a stock image site, something from Miami.
I
Okay,
wouldn't
so you have
know.
the hotel thing.
Yeah.
So that wasn't in Mayville.
No, that was not at Mayville.
Oh wow. You wouldn't know that though. It's
No,
like movie
it's just-
magic, but with photography.
It's beautiful.
So
That's just
It
a
is.
self-portrait. I got a new light modifier in, and that was just like dinking around with it and going, oh, that doesn't look too bad. So
Yeah, it was just a perfect serious face of yours. And,
yeah, the German face,
yep, you're
Yep.
not looking douchey, and you're not looking
too murderous.
just I'm serious.
Man, how many of the selfies did you get?
Just
So-
a few.
This was actually a joke shot that I took of myself.
Okay.
I think there was like an internet meme floating around of like, take a picture of yourself from when you were younger. So I.
Oh, that's what that's all about.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. I was like looking
Or-
at that. I was like, are you going for that Mad Hatter type thing?
Yeah,
or-
no, that was I've got like vintage antique cameras that I've just kind of inherited from other people over the years.
The Einstein look.
And yeah, I had the hair going that day and like set it up and then in post just made it look like a wet plate. So yeah, it was a guess my age for my photo sort of thing.
Gotcha.
We just did that yesterday.
Yep, we just did the wet plate.
Yeah,
thing
this
with
was not
Carrie.
an actual wet plate. This was photoshopped to look like wet plate.
Oh, okay. Oh, cool.
So this is actually John Kennedy. He's a comedian in town. But yeah,
Caught my ears.
I don't know where he's at right now, but I'll text him and see if I can get like what shows he's doing.
Okay.
What did you do on that? What's the
yeah,
setup?
I was like, what is the whole setup
So
here?
that is a
And
water
don't
balloon.
disappoint me. Don't. That's a water
That's
balloon.
a water balloon that we shot. There was a baseball diamond like down from my house. It's not there anymore. They took it out and put trees in, which is nice. But that was, I set up a couple of lights. We waited till it got dark and then used the lights themselves to actually capture that water balloon exploding when he hit it.
How did you come up with that? Yeah, that's really where I'm going to go with this. Is
I
like
must have
destroying
stole it.
things. You can understand. I like, but this
Yeah,
is
I'm guessing I stole it from some other place. Because I know I've seen people like do not water balloons, but like throwing water on people. And I wanted to try something like that, and then it
But
was a
it
matter
looks
of,
like sand or something's coming out the end of the bat.
that's
and it
actually
kinda-
just the bat. Like after hitting the water balloon, like the water like trailing off the bat as it's
Wow,
coming across.
Science. All right.
Then this one here still blows my mind. The symmetry involved.
So this was
And just how did you even pull that off?
This
Where,
is
where was the camera even placed? That doesn't-
underwater. Like I was underwater with her when I shot this.
Wow.
What?
And yeah, this is a senior photo that I did for Desiree's her name. But this was part of her senior session. So she's a swimmer, or she was a swimmer, pardon me, for Fargo South. And I had always wanted to do underwater photography. So we did like a number of different shots. We did some of her like diving into the water. So I've got like a couple of really nice, it's not time lapse, but it's basically multiple exposures of her like jumping into the water as a single photo. And then I wanted to do some like actually under the water. And this was just one of those, like, as I'm under the water and working with her, like I started noticing her reflection. Like when you're under the water and looking up, there's that reflexivity of the water that bounces the light back at you.
Yeah.
And I noticed that, and I'm just like, okay, so here's the thing. Like we came up for air. I'm like, okay, so here's the thing. I want you to like lie horizontally. I want you to kind of reach up and touch the water. And that's what led to
He
that.
just made that all up on the spot.
I just saw something and went with it. Yeah. And then like, you know, of course she's laying on her back in the water, but just flipping it horizontally, like gives it a whole different perspective.
Yes.
It's very cool.
That was just, and you were in the water too. I still,
Yeah. I've done that with a couple of swimmers where it's like, it's basically just a glorified Ziploc bag that I put my camera in and we'll shoot them underwater.
oh, serious.
Yep.
Okay. So
Well,
Siebels,
that's-
man of action, and that's
that's the-
all I have. for
Really? You only,
that.
those 4 shots? I sent you like 40.
I know you did. And I was like, we could talk about these all day long. But here's where we got to go with this: is that you've done all these amazing things, and you've taken all these amazing pictures, and then you were telling me about you took a trip for a wedding. Where?
Oh, yeah, I went to Hong Kong to shoot a wedding.
Hong Kong to shoot a wedding. I mean, how many people get to go to Hong Kong which get paid to do something that they're probably in love of doing in the first place?
Professional photographers fairly recently, you know, I'm sure there are a number of them that do it.
Out of Fargo?
I don't know. Probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
The math is low.
Yes.
Yes.
The
All right.
math is low.
If you're going to restrict it down to just like Fargo, yeah, I'm sure there's
that's where
quite
I'm at. It's just
quite a few
I'm more
fewer,
about
but-
the whole area idea. But I just thought that was just beyond cool that
Yeah.
they would even
that was the
want that.
weirdest
But
trip
you
of my
gotta,
life.
yeah, you gotta explain a couple of stories here because I remember you telling me a few of these.
So like the Hong Kong trip, I had known the bride. I knew her. She was like a drum corps contact actually.
Okay.
but I had met her through a drum corps chat group, and she was just in the group that I was in. We had chatted a lot, and I was supposed to shoot her wedding. She was engaged to a different guy originally. So I was supposed to go down and shoot her wedding in Arizona originally, and that fell through. But she had always been like, Jason, I want you to shoot my wedding. I want you to come down and shoot my wedding. She is an English as, hey, Emma, in case you're watching this, in the off chance that you are. It's probably like a 9-hour difference now.
The math is low.
Yeah, very low.
Oh, Sturdivant's on there. I remember stuff here. Oh, okay. Thanks. Oh, Greg's out there. Mr. Sturdivant.
Okay. But anyway, she had always wanted me to shoot her wedding. She was an English as a second language teacher, first in Panama. Then she got hired in Vietnam, where she met her now husband. Okay. And she had wound up getting a job in Malaysia, I think it is. And in order for him to be able to move to Malaysia with her, they were engaged at the time. But in order for him to actually be accepted to go to Malaysia, they had to be married.
Okay.
And in Vietnam, like if you are a foreigner in Vietnam, you have no rights, basically. So they could not get married in Vietnam as both of them being foreigners. He was from England. She was from America. And they do not allow you to get married in Vietnam if that's the situation. So they had to shop around to find the closest spot where they could get married at, which wound up being Hong Kong. And then just on a lark, she's like, hey, guess what? I'm getting married. Would you like to shoot my wedding? Ha ha ha. I'm like, sure, where are you getting married at? And she's like, Hong Kong. I'm like, yeah, I'm up for it. And we had 3 months to figure out how the heck I'm going to get from Fargo to Hong Kong to shoot this wedding, which involved me like driving down to Minneapolis to get my passport because I didn't have it at the time. But I wouldn't get it in time unless I drove down there and got it in person to do this. So it's like I drove down to Minneapolis, went through the paperwork. They gave me my passport, drove back up to North Dakota, and like they flew me out to Hong Kong and I shot their wedding.
Yeah, what happened while you're in Hong Kong? I know that the flight kind of got you a little bit.
Oh, God, the flight was terrible. I left Fargo, I think it was a Tuesday morning at 5 a.m. I landed in Hong Kong 7 o'clock Wednesday evening because of the time differences. And I didn't sleep any of it. Like, because I'm racing the sun the whole way. Like, it was light the entire way over, basically.
Oh, nice. So, like 18-hour flight or something like that?
Yeah.
And it's just sunlight the entire time.
So I landed in Hong Kong at, I want to say it was 7 o'clock at night. I got out of customs at like 11 o'clock at night, Hong Kong time. Took the tram, like, didn't speak a word of the language,
Yep.
But it's like, I had basic instructions to get to the hotel I was staying at. Thankfully was able to get into the tram. My phone would not work because it's completely
international.
Different. Yep. So thank God they had like Wi-Fi on the train. So I'm like typing in, I was like, okay, I'm on the train, praying to God I can get where I need to get to. She met me at the train station at the right stop. It's like we got to my hotel. I slept like maybe 4 hours that night because by the time I got to sleep, like it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon here. Woke up.
Good old jet lag.
Oh yeah. And it's a complete like 20-hour difference between it. Like I could call home at 7 o'clock there and my kids were just getting up to go to school. So it's like I got no sleep. And the very next day they're like, hey, we want to go see the giant Buddha, which is this giant brass or bronze sculpture. I guess I don't really know what it's made out of, but it's on top of a mountain. And you got to take like this cable car to get up there, like this in the air cable car thing,
okay,
you know? And then you got to walk like up the side of a mountain to go see this thing. And I had like no sleep. I'd been up for like probably at that point close to 30 hours, and they're expecting me to walk like, I think it was over 40,000 steps that we took, like uphill in mountainous areas.
Now, did you have your camera gear at the same time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Because we were also
better.
doing like an impromptu engagement shoot for them as well.
Ah.
But yeah, like we got down and there are like the shops down at below the mountain that you could like go to and get food and stuff. And they're like, and was like, oh, I want to go over here and check out the shop. I'm like, whatever, just go, I don't care. And she literally thought she killed me because they came back and they're like, you were sheet white. Like we thought you had died. I was just so
That's a
exhausted.
terrible way to
They
go.
just leave you in the mountain.
They
What
just
happened
leave-
to
they're
him?
like,
He
oh,
never came
God,
down.
we killed Jason. We're going to go. He's got his passport. They'll get the body back somehow, you know? But yeah, so that was my first day in Hong Kong. Like, I nearly died there, you know, from exhaustion. And it got better from there. But of course, like, I was only there for like 4 days. So it's like my body kind of adjusted to Hong Kong, and then I flew back
They
out.
cranked it back out.
And I
come
left
back
a
to
Sunday
Fargo.
morning in Hong Kong, and I arrived back in Fargo Sunday evening because of the time differences again.
I hope you got a few days rest then.
Yeah, I slept for like 2 days straight after
Oh,
that, I think.
yeah.
But the funny thing was, like, traveling back from Hong Kong on the international flight, it goes right over Fargo. So I'm like, you know, can you just let me out here? Like, I can
Parachute.
just hop out and you guys can send me my gear. I don't care, you know? I don't want to sit in Chicago for another 4 hours waiting for a flight.
Oh, I suppose, yeah.
So,
And then back from that way.
yeah.
So good. You ready for some juvenile destruction?
Yeah.
Yes, we have to have some juvenile destruction. Now, this, for people that don't know, Off the Roof is basically something that came about when we used to have the parties here when I was younger, and we'd have to get on the roof of the garage and throw stuff off. I'm sure
think
Jason's been to a couple
I
of those.
remember you guys like throwing a massive CRT television off. And the
Shh, we don't talk about that.
Okay, they did not
But-
do that ever. I'm just wildly hallucinating from different parties held at different houses.
Oh yeah, things happened, and no, it's still a lot of fun. So in that tradition or that idea, here is this week's Off the Roof. Woo! Go. Go. It's one of the latest things.
Oh, it almost like a guitar bag. I'm like, that's a guitar. Okay.
I like how you're really just
That was perfect aim too. You're hired. Yeah, was that the light truss bag or whatever, something like that. It was all broken, so
like how
it was like it just hit the ground and just that was it. And I was like, okay, we'll use that as a joke. And then it was just like that'd be kind of funny if we haven't hit the ground 5 trillion times
Yeah,
in a
that
row.
was awesome. It's dead.
So, you got anything coming up now?
I
With the old
literally have
Renegade?
to like run over to Cheyenne High School. They've got a production of Guys and Dolls that I'm like doing tonight.
Oh,
So,
tonight even. So-
tonight, and I'll be there all like tomorrow as well. They've got 3 more shows to go.
Well, say hello from us.
I will.
Over here at the Uptown Podcast. Now you can get a hold of us at Uptown Podcast or Uptown Tonight Podcast. Or am I even just screwing this all up?
Uptown
Tonight Podcast at gmail.com. Or you can also find us at uptownbandfargo at gmail.com. You can also go and find us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, all again at the Fargo Tonight Podcast or the Fargo. Or sorry, Uptown Band Fargo. I'm getting this all mixed
Yeah,
up.
we're kinda-
Is that too much fun with Jason? You can find us all there with all that. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do that. Subscribe and like and all that other fun stuff.
Hit that like button.
You know
Hit
it.
that
You know
like
it.
button.
So we do have a few shows that Uptown is playing this weekend, but they're basically private, so we have no real reason to say anything about them. So Jason's doing Guys and Dolls tonight. Say hi from us there, and it was great having you on. So remember, if your drummer has more charisma than your front man, your band may be in trouble. But that's why my band's doing just fine. So until next time.